What's up, y'all? It's Chris. Arch-USA.com is the website. Go to it, check it often because I write these great articles and you may be missing a lot of really good information that is not like the traditional stuff that you would get on other sneaker channels, and this is not like other stuff that you get on traditional sneaker channels. So here we go. The New Balance Hoops unveils the BB9000. Now, the BB9000 is not specifically a basketball shoe, although it reads like one because of the nomenclature of BB, right? It is a lifestyle silhouette. Now, I'm about to conflate two different discussions here in an attempt to make it make sense. So please follow along, and I hope no one's like, I don't get it, Chris. I don't understand why you mix those two discussions together. All right, so the BB9000, let's look at pictures of it, make them bigger, and check it all out, and let's see if we can fill the screen up and get rid of my big head. All right, yeah, so you can see that sketch, and then you can see the shoe. This thing is actually kind of fresh, man, but what I really want you to look at are the materials here. It's leather. It's leather. It's not a knit shoe that New Balance is dropping that's coming in this BB9000, all right? And I know you guys are like, you're going to keep covering your face? Yes, I am. You don't need to see me. I'm not that important. But the style of this shoe is super clean. And this is supposed to mimic the welt. And if you've seen leather midsoles, leather outsoles, and the stitching on a leather shoe, that's what that ridge is mimicking, is the welt. The shoes look good, man. But the reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm going to mix up two completely different things, is because there was a big conversation the other day where my team captain, he played for Oregon State before he came down and played at City College with us, and then he went on to play at another four-year school afterwards. I ended up becoming a high school basketball coach at a really young age, and I became a college recruiter. So when I talk about basketball and I talk about footwear and I talk about all of these different things, it's not from a place of not being involved in the sport. My old team captain, he was like, yo, I'm sick of seeing these kids blowing their knees out for these whack-ass shoes. And this young lady for UCLA just blew her knee out with zero contact coming down with a rebound. Now, I came back and I said, dog, it's not the shoes. It's not the shoes. And for a very long time, and he gave me a bunch of links where he wanted to show me all of these different knee injuries. And I went back and I said, dude, it's not the shoes. I said, can shoes exacerbate a problem with leg injuries? Yeah, definitely. Even my daughter was having knee problems at the beginning of track season this year because her shoes were too small. So yeah, if you wear the incorrect footwear, you are going to have knee problems, ankle problems, all types of different issues with your legs, all the way up to your hips even, and your lower back. But to blame it solely on the shoes is extremely faulty because it overlooks a problem that I've discussed often. Now, I wrote this article a long time ago. I'm going to put it in the description, and I'm making sure I put it here so you guys can see it, where LeBron James, who is one of the most durable NBA players in the history of the sport, where LeBron James explains in detail what I've been saying. And I was like, hey, if LeBron says it, then people may believe him more than they'll believe me complaining about this. Now, I explained that when I was a high school head coach, I hurt my student athletes. I hurt them by not allowing them to play AAU basketball. Pretty sure a couple of them snuck off and played anyway. But I did not allow them to play. I made them play an additional sport. They could play volleyball, they could run track and field, but they would not play basketball year round. Now, my reasoning for that was when I was in the NFHS program, when we had to get certified as coaches, they told us that most injuries, and I'm highlighting this here, injuries derive from overuse unless the injury comes from a movement or action during a game or practice. Now, I've had design people argue me that D Rose was injured because of his shoes. And I'm like, no, it's more than likely the fact that D Rose has been playing 60 basketball games a year since he was 10 years old. 10 years old. Think about that. So 60 basketball games a year. That means practices and everything else that goes along with it. And here is a quote from LeBron James, and he's saying, I think AAU has something to do with it for sure. James told Yahoo Sports, it was a few tournaments where my kids, Bronny and Bryce, had 5 games in one day, and that's just effing out of control. That's just too much. There was a case study where I read a report, I don't know who wrote it, not too long ago, and it was talking about the causes in kids' bodies already being broken down, and they attributed it to AAU basketball and how many games that these tournaments are having for the financial benefit and for the recruitment benefit. I'm throwing that in. He said, so I'm very conscious for my own son because that's all I can control. And if my son says he's sore or he's tired, he's not playing. I go back to this big conversation, and then I go back to the design of this shoe from New Balance, because in this discussion, my old college basketball team captain stated, these kids are getting hurt because the shoes are made out of knits and composites and synthetics and not leather. All of that conversation doesn't have a lot to do with the fact that New Balance just created this shoe out of leather. It's a lifestyle model. It makes perfect sense. I've stated for a very long time that basketball shoes don't sell anymore. I can show you reports and show you the number of basketball shoes I sold in a month. When I sold 700 pair of shoes in a month, and the number of basketball shoes was so small, it was a waste of time to even consider it. They don't sell because the shoes lack any reference to old school. New Balance just made a shoe that really references old school footwear. And it looks pretty doggone good. It looks good. Now, it utilizes leather. Can kids play in it? Maybe. New Balance is saying that they can get in the layup line and do a, between game, stuff like that. But it does have the same kind of technology that their basketball shoes have. But I'm telling you right now, if this shoe begins to sell, it's going to be because it features leather. As we begin to move away from synthetic basketball shoes, I can see basketball sales going back up. There's a reason that the Jordan 1 and the Jordan 4 and these retros, obviously it's Michael Jordan, there's a reason that those shoes sell at a higher clip than the newer models that are released. But here's an interesting thing. Jordan 35, and let's go to StockX, the Jordan 35, right? Jordan 35 is selling pretty doggone good. And you have particular models of the Jordan 35 that are reselling at like ridiculous numbers, right? Well, now that's a clot, so you can't really count that. But you go into these dynasties, and obviously the Fragment, but the Guoyin, the Titan, the Warrior, these shoes are reselling at ridiculous prices. But this is what's interesting. Jordan brand, for Jordan athletes, got away from knit construction. They really haven't used it that much anyway. But it's not there on these models, and the 35 is performing very well. So did 34, so did the 33, and contrary to what a lot of people think. So New Balance is really doing something smart here, and I just wanted to acknowledge it and talk about basketball shoes in general, and I think I'll end it there. I'll see you guys on the next one. I hope everything's going well for everyone out there. Peace, y'all.